Good evening, everyone. I'm going to call the May 29th City Council meeting to order and welcome everyone here and everyone at home. Our first item up this evening is we had Memorial Day, and so we're going to do our Pledge of Allegiance ceremony. I wanted to start out by reading a few comments that the President made yesterday for Memorial Day, and then Councilor Pauline is going to lead the pledge for us. This is a quote from the President. "Our nation endures and thrives because of the devotion of our men and women in uniform, who from generation to generation carry a burden heavier than any we may ever know. On Memorial Day, we honor those who have borne conflict's greatest cost, mourn where the wounds of war are fresh, and pray for a just, lasting peace. The American fabric is stitched with the stories of sons and daughters who gave their lives in service to the country they loved. They were patriots who overthrew an empire and sparked revolution. They were courageous men and women who strained to hold a young union together. They were ordinary citizens who rolled back the creeping tide of tyranny, who stood post through a long twilight struggle, who saw terror and extremism threaten our world's security and said, 'I'll go.' And though their stories are unique to the challenges they faced, our fallen service members are forever bound by a legacy of valor older than the Republic itself. Now they lay at rest in quiet corners of our country and the world, but they live on in the families who love them and in the soul of a nation that is safer for their service. We remember all who have borne the battle, whose devotion to duty has sustained our country and kept safe our heritage as a free people in a free society. Though our hearts ache in their absence, we find comfort in knowing that their legacy lives on in all of us, in the security that lets us live in peace, the prosperity that allows us to pursue our dreams, and the love that still beats in those who knew them. Please join me and Councilor Pauling in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The public forum is an opportunity for individuals to speak to the City Council on any city-related issues, except for those items which have already been heard by a hearings official or are on tonight's agenda as a public hearing. Each person will have 3 minutes to speak. When you come to the podium, please give your name, city of residence, and for Eugene residents, your ward if known. The timer and lights indicate the time you have to speak. A yellow light will come on when you have 15 seconds to complete your comments. The red light indicates the end of 3 minutes. I'm going to open the public forum. And first up, Dan Armstrong is number 1, followed by John Simpson.
Good evening, Mayor and councilors. My name is Dan Armstrong. I live at 2788 Riverview Street in Eugene, and I'm not sure what sector that is, but in any case, I'm the editor of Mud City Press and a community member for the Lane County Farmers Market, and I'm here on behalf of the Farmers Market to talk about the situation of expansion of the market. We've had a dialogue going on for about 2 years about a way that we could find more space. The market is one of the businesses in Eugene that is doing very well and can expand and probably bring us some more jobs. But in any case, we've had this ongoing conversation about a way to expand, and we haven't had much success. We talked about the parking lot behind the shed, and we talked about closing 8th Street. We've been hit at kind of a bump in the road. We haven't gotten very far in that. And then we've also begun a discussion about the Butterfly parking lot, which belongs to the county. In November, Mayor Ruiz wrote a letter to Leanne Richardson asking her if we could maybe open up a discussion about moving the parking lot or making some sort of arrangement so that the parking lot could be used for the Lane County Farmers Market. Because of that discussion in that letter, I made a contact with Ron Levenger, a landscape architecture professor at the University of Oregon. We talked about it a little bit, and he decided he would have a studio entitled Expanding the Lane County Farmers Market. It started in, beginning of April, the spring term. And in May 11th, he had a midterm review of that class, which was going to draw pictures of what that market might look like, what that space could look like if it was expanded into a market. The mayor attended, also Councilor Taylor attended, and County Commissioner Faye Stewart attended. If you may remember, I invited all of you to come to that. And we had a really nice discussion. The mayor and the councilor and the commissioner offered pretty good ideas. That class is going to have a final review on June 5th. All of those ideas that were suggested will go into those drawings. And I'm inviting you all again to come to that review. It's June 5th at 2 o'clock in Lawrence Hall in room 231. I will be also inviting all the county commissioners, Leanne Richardson, Manager Ruiz, and several other people in the community. Really, this is an informal opportunity to look at these drawings and maybe get an idea what this could possibly look like, what it could do for the city, what kind of economic generator it could be. And I'm just hoping to use this studio review to prompt a discussion between the county and the city to think of some way they might make this parking lot available to the Lane County Farmers Market. I think we could really use it and make some good use of it. In the end, all we really want right now is a yes or a no on that.
Thanks, Dan. John Simpson, you're up next, followed by Pauline Hudson.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm John Simpson, resident of Eugene in Ward 8. In the spirit of improved information sharing, I have a few items of interest from the Eugene Water and Electric Board I'd like to share with you tonight. In the electric department, starting this month, customers will see a 5.5% rate increase driven largely by escalating electricity costs charged by the Bonneville Power Administration. This rate action amounts to about a $5 per month increase for an average customer. We tapped $6 million in reserves to reduce this rate impact. Unfortunately, extremely low wholesale power prices also continue to take their toll on revenue streams. Surplus power sales have traditionally helped keep rates low here in Eugene. It's worth noting that these rate pressures are not unique to EWEB, but they are being felt by utilities across the Northwest. For example, Seattle City Light just announced a 31% rate increase over the next 6 years. Like Seattle, EWEB is talking with customers to prioritize our projects and align our services with affordability goals. Moving on. In the water department, EWEB continues to upgrade its aging infrastructure, in keeping in pace with the city's road improvement projects. At the same time, we're seeing declining water usage, particularly by larger customers, meaning that revenues are lower than normal. In response, the board approved a 3.8% rate increase for water service. EWEB is taking a hard look at both short and long-term cost containment strategies, including deferred capital projects and reducing operational costs. But, as you saw in the news, General Manager Gray is taking immediate and unprecedented action to get ahead of this growing gap between costs, customers' tolerance for continued rate increase. These include a major reorganization that will result in fewer staff and modifying the way we deliver our services. As with other public agencies, these are certainly challenging times, and I share Roger's goal to get through this process in a way that's fair, balanced, and workable. Another subject. EWEB's smart meter pilot, with over 100 meters in the field, is well underway. This project, in partnership with the University of Oregon, tests preference for different energy consumption monitoring methods. The pilot will continue through the summer, but we're already learning from our customers which tools are most helpful for bill management. In the meantime, EWEB held 3 public information sessions last week to explain why utilities are investing in smart meter technology. And finally, thanks for making time at your earlier work session tonight for an update on the Carmen Smith Hydroelectric Relicensing Project. This is one of the most significant long-term strategic efforts undertaken by EWEB, and it is a critical component in our energy future. Also, our next joint meeting is scheduled for July 10th at EWEB. Looking forward to an opportunity to share more in-depth information on key initiatives we're both working on. And last but not least, the Board of Commissioners thank you for your time and for your service to the community as public officials. We look forward to seeing you at the joint meeting in July. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Pauline Hudson is next, followed by Joseph CVZ.
Good evening. My name is Pauline Hudson. I live at 1025 Taylor Street. What I am about to say is in no way intended to trivialize or exploit the absolutely tragic shooting death of Trayvon Martin in Florida. My purpose here is to hold up a mirror, if you will, and make a comparison to the mayor's statement in the Register Guard. No children should die like this in our country. I'm paraphrasing here, and asking the mayors and the others in the city council to whom this applies to develop the same level of compassion and the qualities of humanitarians for the children whose parents work on West 11th and would lose their jobs. You know the story. And with all due respect, again, to whom this may apply, I do not understand how your personal and political agendas and egos take priority over this. You are not being public servants. This is hubris, and you should be ashamed. Apparently the mayor feels antagonized by us. I would personally like to apologize for that. The problem is that we can only speak to you for 6 minutes a month, and there is simply not enough time to go into details, so we are frustrated and desperate. Regarding the mayor's comment that the meeting at the Pancake House was a free-for-all, as though there's something wrong with that. Not necessarily. In the edition of the Register Guard of March 13th, there is an article describing the meeting with the public over the Goose Project timber sale. Some of the words used are tense, confrontational, and 100 plus seething residents feeling blindsided. Understandable emotions, not enough time to talk, and sometimes it seems as though the public is the last to know. Speaking of which, the hidden agenda is in plain sight, the West Eugene MX system. At a meeting from October 2006, you voted to allow LTD to undertake a study for MX. You are tacitly approving a breach of this agreement by ignoring the fact that the study has morphed into the project, the West Eugene MX system. This is our city. We pay taxes. We have every right to speak out to protect our town, our quality of life, and our livelihoods. Shakespeare, the people are the city.
Next is Joseph ZDZ, followed by Andrew Fisher.
Good evening, Mayor, City Councilors, staff, Mr. Reeves, audience. My name is Joseph Shekel-Shinitsky. I reside at 1025 Taylor Street in Ward 1, Mr. Brown's ward. So 2 weeks ago, I went to the Lillis Business Complex at the U of O to hear a lecture on humans in transit, given by Jarrett Walker, a transportation planning and policy consultant who's consulted for LTD in the past. He isn't right now on any of these MX projects. And he's consulted in Sydney, he's consulted throughout the U.S. and Europe and stuff. Anyway, one of the things, there's a question brought up. Do you think that the public should have any say-so about the public right-of-way? And his response was, no private individual should be able to stop the public right-of-way. I think that's pretty outrageous. I think that's very outrageous. That's very undemocratic. Those people that died in all these wars didn't die for that. Then he talks about the West Eugene MX. He says it's a flawed system. It's a very flawed plan. I wouldn't build it that way. But you should vote for it anyway to get the money. Now, is that what people are dying for in all these foreign wars, so we could keep spending money for wasted stuff? I mean, it's bad enough we're wasting money on wars. So, you know, he talks about the stuff, expanding your horizons, et cetera, et cetera. So I leave there, go to Dad's Gate, get on MX. It's 8 o'clock. I get downtown here, 8:06, not a bus in sight. I would have to wait 45 minutes for a bus to go out to where I live. And yet, LTD wants to put in a system that'll run out there 6 times an hour at 8 o'clock in the evening, and they can't either afford or don't have the ridership now to run more than one bus an hour. Just relating some stories to you folks. Thank you.
Next is Andrew Fisher, followed by Mary Salinas.
Good evening, Mayor and Councilors. My name is Andrew Fisher. I reside at 2450 Jackson in Ward 1. In 1975, the City of Eugene established a 7-member Historic Review Board to assist in realizing our community's historic preservation goals. This group is comprised of passionate volunteers whose experience, interest, or expertise make them valuable contributors to such an effort. I volunteered to serve on the HRB because I've always had a deep interest in the past. As a young boy growing up on the Oregon coast in Tillamook, I was fortunate to have a grandparent who nurtured this interest. My Nana Fisher took me all over the county on hikes and walks and visits to museums. I think she wanted to impress upon me the fact that we are all temporary stewards of the land. And the choices that we make today will most certainly impact the world tomorrow. Over the past 2 years, a meaningful process and important dialogue have been taking place around Envision Eugene. How should our community best prepare for anticipated growth in an uncertain future? I believe an appreciation and an understanding of our community's past is vital. Some of the questions that the HRB has recently been tackling are how can we best encourage dense residential development and infill without unintentionally pushing out our historic and neighborhood character-defining houses? How do we support finding new meaningful uses for significant local historic resources? And thirdly, how do we continue to encourage public awareness and appreciation of the historic built environment? As the Envision Eugene process moves towards developing the practical, balanced mechanisms towards achieving these goals, the City of Eugene's Historic Review Board stands ready. Thank you.
Thank you. Mary Salinas is next, followed by Lisa Warnes.
Yes, hello, my name is Mary Salinas. I live in Springfield. I live in Ward 1. I attended a conference at the university last week called Indigenous People and Global Warming. And so it's wonderful to have a university so that you continue to evolve and to be creative in your thinking. It's very wonderful to have the university. I'm up there all the time. Therefore, my name is Mary Salinas. I'm a member of the family of homeless man. We live in nature. The elders at the Indigenous Conference came to respect me very much. We are homeless man. We live in nature. We're hunted and we're hated. We know how to hunt for food. We know how to steal food. We know how to live invisibly in almost every city. We know how to live under trees, and we know how to live on concrete. So we're very much in touch with nature. We live in nature. I came here to talk about the St. Vincent's housing project that's in the newspaper so much. First of all, I just want to make this one remark. St. Vincent's makes sure that we understand that they are not providing, they're not going to warehouse people. They're going to help people get forward in life. That is a direct reference to the homeless, to not warehouse people. We're also afraid we do not intend to warehouse people. But 1 out of every 6 homeless person is a veteran. And their numbers are increasing. That number, 1 out of 6, is increasing. They're veterans. and you don't want to warehouse them. Please. So I can't make sense of this one either, can you? St. Vincent's is going to build 54 units for $10 million. Capstone is building 359 units for $89 million. Capstone paid for the land. Capstone will put a lot of money into the community. Now, it's also confusing. I have no idea if I'm for or against Capstone. I don't know. I believe in students. I believe in youth. I think that's what you need downtown. Vibrancy. One thing you're missing. Okay. So the St. Vincent's project is almost as expensive as the Capstone project. And we're all very upset about the Capstone project and the cost of it and on and on. Well, the St. Vincent project is almost as expensive, and they're providing very low quality properties. And you donated the land to St. Vincent's. They got, let's do it here. They got,
Thank you.
I think you got my point.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Lisa Warnes is next,
I'll be back. Thanks.
followed by Alex Moser.
Hello. Good evening, counselors, mayor, staff. My name is Lisa Warnes, and I live in Southeast Eugene. I'm here tonight to talk about, well, I originally came down here to talk about the demise of Lane County Animal Services and being taken over by Green Hill. And then I talked to Councilor Taylor, and she mentioned to me that you're talking about taking some of the land acquisition parks bond money and spending it on a skate park. I'm all for that, but not with that money. I think that is probably illegal. And it brings me to another point. I'm a little confused about how we spend our money, and we're supposedly in an economic crisis and spending money on we're closing one of the best animal shelters in the country, and we're going to build a skate park. Anyway, at this point, all I really want to do is make lemonade out of lemons, and really encourage this body to look into an independent, external oversight committee for the new model that's taking over some very challenging dogs. And the red alert list out there is growing daily because they're selling their pit bulls for half price, because it's pretty imminent that they will be euthanized before the 1st of July. It seems to me obvious that that's what's going to happen, and it wasn't denied by Rick Hamill. So I really hope that we'll look at the situation and see how we can do this, because I realize they are a private entity. But I do think, and I know I was told that they euthanized 3 dogs at Green Hill on Friday, and the people that are, and I'm being told by staff from Green Hill that the people that are making those decisions are 2 people, the vet and a new trainer. And she uses one method, and if a dog doesn't respond to that method, then they don't pass the test. And I know I've been doing dog rescue a long time, and you need to use different methods on different dogs. And what if you were using a clicker method on a deaf dog? Well, it probably wouldn't pass the test, and it would be euthanized. So I really hope that we can work together with this and do the best things for our animals in this community, and work together. And I'm going to be gone for the next 2 council meetings, but when I get back, I'm going to be talking to you some more, and I'm going to be bringing some of my friends. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Alex Moser is next, followed by Tamara Banovich.
Hello, my name's Alex Moser, and I live in Lorain, Oregon. And I'm reading this from Molly Smith. She's been an animal activist in this county for many years. She lives in West Eugene, and these are her words. My name is Molly Smith. I volunteer at 2 shelters and 2 rescue groups. Since 2007, I have worked to find foster homes and adopters for dogs at El Cas who were put on red alert, and dogs who had challenging behaviors. I found them homes by filming them and advertising. I've had the opportunity to see both sides, the way the dogs acted at the shelter, and then the dramatic turnaround they made by simply getting out of the stressful environment. About a month ago, a dog named Fletch was at El Cas and was extremely aggressive towards other dogs and cats. A responsible man adopted him, and now Fletch is doing well with the family dogs and good with the cats. Dramatic changes in behavior are what I see all the time once the dogs get into a home. I strongly believe that to solely judge a dog by the behavior in a shelter is inaccurate. On Friday, I found out that 3 dogs at Green Hill had been euthanized. I feel it's vitally important that a trainer who has the power to make life and death decisions for Green Hill dogs should be a person who has experience working with shelter dogs so that they are familiar with the common behaviors associated with pent-up energy and stress. El Cas has made huge strides towards a very low-kill policy with their animals, and our goal is to continue these efforts in the transition as promised by the City of Eugene transition team. Thank you.
Thank you. Tamara Badovich is next, followed by John Archer.
Good evening. I'm Tamara Banovich, and I live at 40 West 23rd Avenue in Ward 1. I'm here to request that the city create an advisory committee or oversight committee with regards to animal services. I think, as we all know, due to the budget cuts at the county level, it's kind of left the city with the responsibility, and they've put out a request for proposal, and Green Hill is probably going to be filling that gap. And I'm just concerned that there be a committee to oversee what happens when that takes place. We already have such a committee for the county, but I think we need to establish something like that for the city to oversee, in particular, euthanasias, and also to create some sort of transparency in that regard, and also to recommend policies and procedures, legislation, and necessary actions with regard to animal welfare. So let's not let our animals down. Thank you.
Thank you. Final speaker, John Archer.
Good evening, everyone. John Archer. I live actually outside of Junction City, but it's a Junction City mailing address. And I also would like to encourage the City of Eugene for an oversight committee. I would like to see it independent of the Lane County Advisory Board, and I have reasons for requesting that. Cleopatra, 5 months old, euthanized for food aggression. Bronwyn, 5.5 months old, euthanized for aggression. Lindy, 5 months old, euthanized for food aggression. Peanut, 1 year old, euthanized for aggression. Harley, 8 months old, euthanized for aggression. Tonka, 7 months old, euthanized for aggression. And how would I know that this is too young to be euthanized for aggression? Because I run a boarding kennel and I run a rescue. So in fact, I'm the guy that usually takes the dogs that need some extra work. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to close the public forum. I'm going to thank you all who came this evening. Thank you for bringing your concerns about the animal shelter issue and the request for the Advisory External Oversight Committee. I'm sure we'll be thinking about that and figuring out what we can do. I want to thank Dan. I saw he left, but thank Dan Armstrong for coming and encourage council to make June 5th available to go see what some of those ideas are for the farmers market. And other than that, and thank John Simpson from eWeb for, we had a great presentation on our work session today from eWeb, and appreciated the update. Everybody seems to be facing a lot of challenges right now. Thank you all very much for being here. Councillor Clark.
Thank you, Mayor. I too was sorry that Dan left. I wanted to have a chance to communicate some stuff to him as well, but have not had a chance to participate as much as I'd like, but I'm quite an advocate for the farmers market. And in that vein, I had some thoughts and questions for the manager. First of all, I was wondering, we've already started down this road and down this progression of getting everybody moved out of this building, and I'm wondering what, scheduled at this moment, what date is the last date that someone will be, or a major department will be working in this building as it's scheduled at the moment?
My understanding is we'll be moving during your summer break in August, and I couldn't tell you the specific date on that. I can get back to you with that.
But by the middle of August, or even maybe the end of August at the latest, most everybody will be gone from this facility.
Correct.
And the police department is planning a move with most of their folks
In end of July, early August.
So as we go from here over the course of the next 3 or 4 months, it's going to become less and less over the course of time, and there'll be more space in this area and in this courtyard that's unused. Is that right?
Yes.
Well, with your smile there, I can see that maybe you understand where I'm going. I would like us to be able to talk about the idea of, if this building isn't used, at least this year, any capacity for us to have a covered area for farmers market inside this courtyard. And I don't know if that's at all possible, but it's an idea that I think we should at least discuss. So I want to bring it up and maybe even put out a council poll on the idea if it's warranted and possible. Thank you.
Okay. I don't see anyone else in the queue, so thank you all for being here tonight, and that's the end of our business for this evening. You want to stay?